Americans like to believe death is at least 2 or 3 steps away. In Russia, I would give it a half step. Perestroika. Wild Wild East free-for-all began in Russia in 1993. Soviet republics dissolved and became independent. Chechnya was fighting for independence from Russia. Boris Yeltsin became the president. Politicos, KGB, and mafia bosses were dividing up natural resources and city blocks in violent turf wars. Theft and homelessness were rampant, while Novaya Ruskia, New Russians, and thugs cruised around in their new Mercedes and BMW. And I was on the way to Finland to buy a car with my so-called friend Georgi. Perestroika was the time when Western goods flooded Russian stores and markets. The Russians started plying trade in surrounding countries like Finland and Germany. Georgi had convinced me to accompany him on a bus tour to Helsinki. He was a mechanic and had found a niche, bringing back older Western cars, repairing them, and selling them for a fat profit. He said he would help me fix mine if I helped him find a car. So I sat there with my $2,500 cash surrounded by Russians, loaded to the brim with bottles of vodka and cartons of cigarettes. Since alcohol and tobacco were extravagantly expensive in Finland, the cheap Russian products would make an excellent profit. Border crossings in Russia were always a joy, and the incorruptible customs agents made it even more fun. My customs agent was a Russian woman who belonged in a James Bond film. Green eyes, black hair, pale skin, stunning. She said that she would kindly let me cross into Finland if I left behind $2,000 at the customs office. Oh, those complex Russian laws.
Максимальная сумма, которую можно вывести из России, $500.
Oh, hell no, I'm not leaving $2,000 here. I'll just go back to St. Petersburg on a train.
Пойдем со мной в более приватную комнату, красавчик.
She moved like a slinky cat despite the uniform and led me back into a private back room for a serious chat or something.
Тогда $50.
My dirty male mind took it one way for a moment and then understood. Ah, a bribe. I paid and continued on to Helsinki. Georgi immediately found a car, but I had no luck. When I returned back to my bus that was going back to St. Petersburg, I saw a Vietnamese man standing next to a decent-looking Nissan with a sign. $500. Georgi looked over the car and approved it. Всё хорошо. So the two of us formed a 2-car caravan back to the border. It took 4 hours to get through customs, and when I finally got through, Georgi was nowhere in sight. All that lay in front of me was a lonely road heading south. I actually had no clue where I was, and Georgi hadn't waited around to guide me back. Effing great. And I didn't even have a map. It was a dark February night. It must have been minus 20 degrees, at most. The narrow road stretched endlessly onward into the darkness. Rural Russian roads had no street lamps, so it was just me and the low-oil lamp indicator to keep me company. Low oil? What the fuck? I was in the middle of a frozen tundra. I searched the car for maybe a spare quart of oil and found 2 quarts stuck neatly behind the passenger seat. The car guzzled up the entire 2 quarts. Not a comforting sign. Then, certain memories started floating up in my mind. 1 month prior, I had played tennis on an empty stomach, and then afterwards drank the obligatory post-tennis cognac shots. Na zdоровье. On the way home, the subway rocked like a small ship in a storm, and when I hit the cold air while leaving the subway, I almost passed out. I had seen dead homeless people lying about on sidewalks that winter. I had been one fatal stumble and fall away from their fate. The moment I crossed the threshold of my apartment, I face-planted. The previous thaw, I had been taking a casual stroll to the store when I saw something purple-bluish peeking up out of the snowbank to my left. What the hell? Shit! The face of a frozen corpse was peeking out for a final goodbye. At that moment, the cops pulled up, so I briskly continued walking. Nope, wasn't me. As I entered Viborg, one town north of St. Petersburg, I saw him pulled over on the side of the road. I wanted to kiss and kill him at the same time. Well, he did fix the oil problem, and we ended up selling that piece of junk for $1,500. I guess it was worth getting 2 steps closer to death.
For all you Russian language purists, here's a disclaimer. If you don't like the way I roll my Russian R, then you try it in the middle of speaking English. And another message to all of you purists. Пошлите вы нахуй.